Welcome to Web and Beyond Cast, where small business comes to learn about marketing and managing on the web and beyond, with your host, Ray Sidney Smith.
Hello there, small business owners, entrepreneurs, and community. Welcome to episode 10010 of Web and Beyond Cast. I'm Ray Sidney Smith, and we are going to be talking today about video marketing in kind of a different way than we typically do. We're going to flip it on its head and actually talk about video marketing from the production side. We're going to talk about how to actually get the fundamentals of production, getting video prepared for, how do you plan out a video, how do you do scripting, how do you get the shooting right for video footage, and using some of the tools for getting the video prepared, and when you need to hire a professional. I mean, so many times there comes a point where you decide, okay, I'm going to do video, I'm going to make video a part of my business marketing strategy, and then it doesn't happen. It doesn't materialize. And that's when maybe a professional needs to be brought in. And that's why today I have brought on the show with me Sharon Sobel. She is the owner of Picture This Video and has been producing video projects for business clients for over 15 years. Having evolved from tape to DVD to online delivery, her experience and varied skills help her clients rest assured they are getting someone knowledgeable and experienced in all facets of production. So she's able to work with them to produce something within their budget and that meets their video needs. I know Sharon from Alexandria, Virginia, where she has been a bedrock of the Alexandria small business community. And so it's always a pleasure to be with and around Sharon. And so welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk today about preparing and planning for and all the various meat and potatoes of actually recording video. And that's your specialty. And so I wanted for you to just give us a little bit about what I didn't introduce about you in the show. What's a little bit about your background? What got you into video, and why do you still do it today for businesses?
I actually got interested in video in high school. I took a TV video production class and found that was my calling. That's exactly what I wanted to do with my life. And so I got a degree from Radford University, and I had an internship during that college time at a news affiliate. And internships are great. You should always learn something from internships. And what I learned was I did not want to do news. So that was valuable. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to work, but I knew it was not news. And even though I loved all of the parts of making a video product, I just didn't like news stories being that product. So I moved up to the Metro DC area because it's a big area. There's a lot of different kinds of work here. And I just I started in cable television and did some work in that. And I just kept getting drawn to wanting to do more corporate and business video products that would help businesses. So that's where I've been for the past 15 years. And I love the idea that businesses come to me with an idea of what they want to do, and then I help bring that to creation. And sometimes they don't have concrete ideas. Sometimes they have goals, and then I can work with them, and collaboratively we can figure out how video can help get that goal met.
And that brings us really to the first idea or point of our discussion today, which is how do you prepare for and plan out video? I think it's something that it's a linear construct. And so you have to think about things in terms of storyboarding. And sometimes business owners are not linear thinkers by nature. I don't think humans are necessarily linear thinkers by nature. Some of us are, some of us aren't. I'm not going to get into a psychological debate with anyone about that. But I think how do you frame that for businesses? How do you get into that mindset for planning for video?
It's not as hard as it seems, in that there's a couple of things that you need, a couple questions really you need to answer to start driving where this video product's going to go. You want to identify who the audience is going to be. Is it going to be If it's a marketing video, it's likely going to be potential customers. If it's a training video, it's going to be people that already know your business, have some introduction to it. So who is the audience? That's important to answer. And what do you want them to know and or do? If you want them to buy something, you've got to have a pretty strong message. If you just want them to be aware of your product or your business, being aware of a product or business is very different than actually selling. If you think about Coca-Cola ads, Coca-Cola, they know that they're out there. Everybody knows what Coca-Cola is. So at this point, they're not necessarily asking you to please buy a Coca-Cola. They are more in an awareness space now where they just saturate the market so that you are definitely aware of Coca-Cola anytime you're near a soda stand. So it's a different kind of video. And then how does your product or service stand out in the marketplace? What makes it different? Why did you get into your business or the way that you do your business? Then I think lastly, and probably the hardest question to ask is, what is this video going to look like? You can have a range of styles out there. It can be a testimonial of you or someone with your company speaking directly to camera. That's probably the simplest and most inexpensive video to produce. It could be a case study where you get your customers to actually kind of speak on your behalf. They had a problem, they came to you, this is how you solved it. Or maybe you're a fan of those whiteboard explainer videos that are out there. Those are really great when you don't have a lot of actual video visuals available, or you've got kind of an abstract concept that's a little hard to get video of, but you don't want necessarily just someone talking about it on camera. It's a bit more dynamic. You can do those in kind of a package deal, so it's a bit more predictable. So that's the last part, is kind of pun intended, picturing this video. So once you picture the video, that's the last component, and then you can get moving.
The idea here is to create a formalized kind of method for how you're going to produce videos, and maybe mapping out a workflow diagram, maybe a flow chart of what's going to demand what over time. Because really, as a business owner, we know that we're going to want systems in place that are going to be replicable, and that'll make it easier the next time and the next time and the next time. So that first time out, it's going to be a little bit more work, but that means then every time thereafter, that hard work done up front is going to kind of cascade and bring a greater productivity to your video making process. I wanted you to touch base a little bit with me, Sharon, on the scripting process. I know that you have kind of your own thoughts on this. What's the sort of method or the questions you ask about scripting a video?
Scripting your video, there's a couple of points about scripting it that people can get into trouble with by not scripting it. Scripting ensures that you have everything covered, audio and video wise. The way that I work when I'm doing a script is I make a 2-column script, and one column is going to be the audio, everything that you're hearing. The other column is the video, everything that you're seeing. So the audio is usually the easiest part to do because it provides, the script, the narration for your video. You don't want to just do a 2-paragraph essay. That's great, but what are we going to see? Paragraphs are great for radio, and 2-column scripts are great for video. So once you've got all of the audio written down, then you can start thinking about, what are people going to see when they hear that part? Are they going to see the person on camera reading it? Is that going to be a voiceover and we see other things? Will there be graphics needed? All of that kind of stuff. So that's why I prefer to have a 2-column script, because you're covering both the audio and the video and you're not leaving anything out.
Sharon has actually provided us with a really great PowerPoint presentation that she has put together for what we're talking about here today. So it's kind of a Cliff Notes version. in it, there is actually a wonderful diagram, sort of snapshot of one of these scripts that is a sample for you to be able to look at. So as you are listening to Sharon, you can go run over there to the show notes, webandbeyondcast.com/010, the episode number, and you will find a link to this. So Sharon, continue telling us about kind of the 2-column approach to scripting video, with video in one column and audio in the other.
Yeah, sure. And thanks for referring to that PowerPoint, because that helps here. If you are going to look at that PowerPoint, you'll see 4 columns. On the far left is the running time column, which is the amount of time that actual shot is estimated to take. Then there's the video column, what you're going to see. The audio column, what you're going to hear. And then the last column is TRT, that's total running time. I find that's helpful because if you're aiming to not have a video more than 2 minutes long, if you're not experienced in writing, you don't know how long or short things take. So you could just do the math on the right-hand side. So you see like the first one is 2 seconds, then the next one's 3 seconds, which makes the total running time 5. And it just adds up on the right-hand side. You can see here that everything that is on the audio side is matched on the video side with what we will be seeing at that time. I will say, to add on to this, that beginner video people will think that the video has to reflect what the audio is. Meaning, if the line is, and the sun set graciously into the distance, we actually see a sun setting. It doesn't have to be that. It can be something subtle or different or graphic that complements what the audio is, but it does speak for itself. Video can speak for itself on occasion.
Yeah, and I think that's really good for people to know, is that sometimes we want to sometimes be literal in audio, and that's really important when you're on a podcast like we are. But video they're basically pictures at 20 frames per second, right?
Right.
Although there could be different frames per second, but as you're watching moving images, it can be far more evocative and explanatory than the words. And so remember that you're trying to portray motion and emotion, as I frequently say in workshops, right? So video is supposed to explain motion and emotion, and that by itself, without any words, can be very, very, can fill in the gaps of what you need to be said in words. I'd like to transition us into talking about shooting now, the motion part of video. How do we position ourselves with some maybe tips and tricks from you, from your experience, in terms of getting great video footage? Because the reality is that we if we're going to do it ourselves, if I'm going to shoot video and DIY a project, I don't have a video background, so my goal is to get competent video, and so I'm hoping that you can give our listeners some tips to up their game.
So I'm not going to sit here and tell you what camera to use, what camera not to use. That's another day. Truthfully, you can use a tablet or an iPhone and shoot great video, or you can use a standard camcorder or larger camera. It's totally up to your resources and what you are comfortable with and experienced with. But all of those devices will produce great video. That's a true story. However, operator error does come into play. So that can be avoided with tripods. They are your friend. You can get tripods for tablets and iPhone mobile devices. I've seen them on Amazon pretty inexpensively. I would suggest that. And then there's some basics for shooting. Try and have even lighting with not deep shadows. Avoid shooting into areas like windows that have much brighter light behind the subject, because the subject will just be completely darkened by that. Basic framing, meaning not too much headroom, not too much space between the top of the person's head and the top of your frame. Those are the basics for shooting. It's really practice as far as zoom controls and knowing what looks good frame wise and those kinds of things. If you have a complex video, That's the part that you may want to not do yourself. But if you're just shooting your CEO sitting in a chair talking about the company, that's not really that hard. You can probably do that yourself and have a great product. So it really depends on the complexity of what you're trying to get, as far as whether you need a professional for shooting or your video is so simple that you can do it on your own.
Yeah, I know that I've experienced the issue with daylight or having too bright a light against a chroma key back screen, a backdrop.
Well, you've gotten really advanced, Ray.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's actually taken quite a bit of time of adjusting to getting the right Kelvin lighting.
That's really intermediate, Ray.
Yeah, I know. but I just want to mention it for people because I think that you think that just having big bright light on the subject, even not behind the subject, right? Which, as you said, having good light on person, but too much light can also be a bad thing. It can wash a person out. I recently did a seminar where I was interviewed, and I just happened to be set up in a space because I travel all the time. I don't control all of my spaces. And so I was in this environment and it just had this big bright light. It looked like the light of God on me. And so so it just washed me out. And fine, I was able to deliver the audio content, but from a video perspective, it looked like I was like walking toward the light.
Oh dear. That's not the kind of video you wanted to make? Oh.
No, but it's just talking heads, but still you should be aware that there is too much light
Absolutely.
potential as well. You mentioned the idea of shots and the scene and so on and so forth. Can you talk a little bit about audio and what people should really think about when it comes to video and audio? I know that I frequently say to people when I do video marketing workshops that they should really pay more attention to the quality of the audio than the quality of the video. Do you agree or disagree when it's a DIY kind of situation?
I absolutely agree. And I think a lot of people are fooled into thinking that because their device, their camera, whatever, has a built-in mic, that they've got the audio covered. And one of the first things I tell people is that is not your primary microphone. That is your secondary microphone. It should be used for background or redundancy. In case your primary microphone goes down, you haven't lost everything. But I strongly suggest that all of your sound should be mic'd. If you have someone that's able to have a lavalier microphone put on them, if they're the only person speaking in the scene, I definitely recommend that. There are wireless versions and there are hardwired plug-in versions. Even for smartphones and tablets, they have these. When I say primary microphone, that would be the microphone closest to your sound source, whether that is a person or you're recording the whirring of the food processor you're selling or whatever. It's the microphone that is getting the cleanest version of your sound.
That's great advice. Thank you. I know that you also mentioned simple DIY and then getting more complex. And even as I was talking about the green screen and the lighting and so forth, you said, okay, now that's intermediate. That's more in the higher level stuff. Can we talk about when you want to get a professional to help you with video? Most business owners have no idea what the first step is even. So can you give us some of the kind of step-by-step solutions you should look for with regard to video marketing, video professionals, not marketing professionals, but video professionals like yourself, and what we should all look for in a great videographer?
Well, I'm going to just back up a little bit and say, if you remember the beginning of our conversation when we were talking about how do you start with your video project? And I said it's basically some questions you need to answer. Who is your audience? What do you want them to know and or do? How do you stand out? Those kinds of things about start, first of all, coming up with what kind of video are you producing? That really has to come first if you're going to then identify who you need to help you. And it may be just help that you need. You may not need everything handled. Real quick, I'm just going to go over 3 different kinds of people, the basics of any video product. So there's a videographer, and they do the camera work. They'll do minimal or standard audio recording. If they're going to do the shooting for you and you want them to record the primary audio, make sure you let them know so that they bring the right gear for that. Then you have an editor. Now, sometimes your videographer and editor can be the same person if they have both those skill sets. It's not always the case. There will be a videography process, which is the shooting. There will be an editing process, which is the editing. So if the same person can do both of those things, that's fantastic. But the editor is going to edit the video, usually per the script that they get from the client. And some editors like to have the client sit with them while they're doing the editing. And some editors and clients would prefer to be separate and just show me the first version. I'll tell you what you need to fix. Okay, now I'm going to look at the next version, fix these things. Okay, now we've got a winner. Great. I will tell you that sitting with an editor is a bit like watching sausage get made. You may not want to watch the process, but in the end, you will enjoy the product. And then the third person is a video producer. A video producer is not necessarily the client. The video producer usually is more of a liaison between the client and any of the people that are doing the work to carry out the vision, the budget, and the video basically from start to finish. They make sure that all of the problems that you might not realize are down the road, they make sure that those get ironed out before they happen. They can take a more proactive approach in creating the video.
That's a great explanation. I think that's really helpful for business owners, because if you're not in the business, how are you supposed to know that there are actually 3 different professionals who work on video, right? And I think that's really helpful. So do you have an understanding about the difference in who you should hire in what particular environments? Like you said, there was kind of an explainer video with maybe animation, and then there's the talking head kind of scenarios. Are there general things that people should pay attention to when it comes to choosing one particular professional over another? I know that's a super gross generalization, but any little hints or tips there would be helpful.
So once you have an idea of what you want, what kind of video project you want, once you start talking to video producers, and that's where I would start as a video producer, really, ask them if they have done these kinds of projects, just like you're envisioning. And if you're not exactly sure how to communicate what you want, I find a really good idea for my clients is there's a ton of videos out there on YouTube. And a lot of times it helps if someone says, I really like this part of this video. I don't like this part. And I like the graphics in this. They can show me examples. It's sort of like having pictures before you go to your hairdresser. You may not be able to, communicate what you want it to look like, but once you see it, you're like, yes, I like this, but not the curly part. If you can give some examples, then it gives them a good idea of what they're going to be in for and whether they believe they can do that job for you if they've done it before, or if it's just kind of a cousin of work that they have done already. I think you should ask for a proposal. You want to think about your video project sort of like a construction project, I think. So the video producer is really like the general foreman. The general foreman keeps everyone in line, makes sure everybody shows up on time, knows what they need to do. That's what the video producer does. Just like you would expect a proposal and quote from any big construction project that you need to have done, you should expect the same from a video producer. Ask about their payment policy. Are they charging you in advance? Are they charging you after they've delivered the product? For myself, my company, generally, we do it in phases because I think it helps small business owners with cash flow. And it helps me with cash flow, to be honest. So we bill at the pre-production stage, the production stage, and then a month after the product has been delivered. It breaks the payment up into 3 different payments. One of the most important things I think you should ask is, how would the company handle a change in the scope of the project that could affect the cost? Unfortunately, and along with many other video producers, when they first started, they got burned a lot because people would start with one vision, and then as the project progressed, things would go wrong, or they would change their mind on this or that. And if there's not communication between the producer and the client, the producer is going to end up not being able to charge for that. And it's not a good feeling. If you, again, going back to the construction analogy, if you decide to change your floor tile from vinyl to porcelain, that's a price difference. And your contract was originally for vinyl. So there needs to be a process in place that both sides understand, that will be put into effect if the project changes, because it's not unusual for a project to change along the way. Ask them how long the process will take, and if that is in their proposal, any deadlines or milestones that you can expect. And then lastly, how do they charge for editing? How do they calculate how much editing a project will take? So some people charge on a flat fee for editing based on the project. Other people charge an hourly amount. And if they're charging an hourly amount, you want to understand how they calculate that. And it's not that you have the answer for how they're calculating that, but you want to make sure they have an answer. That sounds a little odd, I know, but like for myself, I know that it takes me, depending on the product, it may take me two hours per 1 minute of finished video of editing time. So if you come to me and say you want a 5-minute video, I'm going to say, okay, the editing will probably take maybe 10 to 12 hours. I'll put in 2 hours of, buffer just in case things go wrong. That's why I say ask that question, because otherwise they may be really not understanding how long a project will take. They might actually even overcharge you because they don't want to get burned.
I want to take a step back and talk about tools. We're going to get to the best tool of the week, but I wanted to talk specifically about some of these video tools with you, because I think that sometimes you come across a video project and you need to figure out what you're going to use to make these things happen. And it's kind of like going back to your construction analogy, you need to know what kind of wrench you're going to need. You need to know what kind of hammer, what are the supplies you're going to need. Can you go over a little bit for us what you need in the scripting, shooting, and editing process if you are going to DIY a project? And if you're going to hire a professional, do you need any of these tools yourself in the process? Because I think it's legitimate to know, are you going to need video hosting, for example, even though you're not producing the video? At the end of the day, you're going to be handed a video, and what do you do with that thing?
So for scripting, I just use Microsoft Word using the table feature. That I think most people have Microsoft Word. As far as shooting, I mentioned you can use whatever device you have, smartphone, tablet, camcorder, but record the sound with a microphone plugged into it, not just a camera mic. And if your device does not have a means to plug in a microphone of some sort, do not use it. Please do not use it for recording video. And then editing, I've got in the PowerPoint 5 different things that people can look at as far as editing. And one of them actually will allow you to create an animated explainer video for up to 45 seconds. That might be something to try out. That's for free, just to get your feet wet, I guess. There's a couple other editing apps out there that allow you to kind of DIY your editing. There's a YouTube video editor. There's another thing to record, convert, and compress your videos for online delivery. And of course, you do need a place to put those videos. So, my world is creating videos, but I'm counting on the fact that you, as my client, know what you're going to do with those videos. I'm going to defer to you on that, Ray, for that kind of advice.
Totally. And so that takes us kind of to the one of the points we were discussing in the ramp up to us talking today was the fact that in your world, your job is to help with the production of video and editing and then finalizing the product, but it's not marketing the video. How to get it seen is not your job. And I think that a lot of people miss that fact in the video marketing world, right? We hear about video marketing, we hear about the importance of video marketing, and it is important. I mean, the world is going toward video slowly but surely, and we are seeing all kinds of new platforms come alive. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about this and get your thoughts on it as well. First and foremost, to say that once you have a final video, whether it's a 30-second video, a 10-second video, for example, for Instagram stories, all the way up to full-length, feature-length films, you need to get it someplace. So, you need to figure out where you're going to host it. You need to figure out also how you are going to distribute that video from a marketing perspective and how you're going to use that as it within a broader content strategy. So think about these things in terms of what the video's goal is. Going back to what Sharon said earlier, what's the reason for creating this video? Why do you want it created, and what's its message going to be? And look at the overarching business itself to figure out how video will be used, integrated with all of the various other marketing and sales features. Are you going to use this video as a part of your sales presentation? Is it going to be something that's just available to potential customers on their journey from top of the funnel, someone who's just interested in your business, to middle of the funnel who's a lead, to eventually someone who is a ready to buy now customer? So as you understand these various parts of where the video is going to be utilized, then you can much better understand what kind of video you're going to create. We have a couple of platforms that are really important today, and I want to cover those platforms and kind of hear your thoughts, Sharon, in terms of which ones you see more clients wanting to produce for today, at least from the professional hiring side. And then I can kind of give an idea in terms of the DIY side. So first is YouTube. We've already mentioned YouTube. There's Vimeo. And then we have Instagram. Instagram's actually split into two different categories now. As of just recently, Instagram launched something called IGTV. So you have Instagram video, which is available within stories, which is limited to 10 seconds. And then you have Instagram posts also. I believe there's a 10-second limitation on that. And now Instagram has produced IGTV. There's actually a separate app, although I don't believe you need the separate app in order to experience IGTV. I've downloaded and installed it just because I wanted to experience the pure IGTV world. And so IGTV is actually very different from all of the other video that's out there, though. So IGTV is vertical as opposed to in landscape mode. So you're watching it purely in portrait. You can't publish in landscape. If you publish in landscape, then it shrinks it down and makes it vertical, so it looks horrible. And the idea is that it's for a mobile first, new to technology, young people. So these are young people who have never really experienced landscape video.
Wow.
They're on a mobile only world, and they are experienced that. So IGTV is very cool, very new, and for the right businesses, this can be very powerful because it allows you to create video with your tablet or your smartphone right wherever you are, and it's much more, I want to say, authentic or real, but it's not meant to be highly produced necessarily.
Right.
It's meant to be a interaction and an engagement tool. You're allowed up to an hour of video as opposed to 10 seconds. So that's a pretty big difference. And you record it on your phone, you upload it, you edit it potentially, on your phone, and then upload it directly. So you have a lot of latitude there, and we'll see as more businesses become aware of IGTV and them utilizing that service. Then we switch gears to the live video. And right now we have YouTube Live, we have Facebook Live, and we have Periscope, which is owned by Twitter. And so you'll see the live streams in Twitter provided by Periscope. And these are, again, options for different kinds of video. YouTube Live is available within your mobile phone in the YouTube app. You just click on the little camera icon and boom, you can go YouTube Live.
Right.
Same thing with Facebook Live. You can do it on your desktop, on your computer, or you can do it on the tablet through the Facebook app. And then Periscope, which is available through the Twitter app. And again, that's mobile only. And again, that's that kind of vertical video. Although I believe you can do landscape Periscope or Twitter Live video. And so you have those options as well. So you have to really decide how to plan out your video strategy to match whether or not you're going to do something live or you're going to have something pre-recorded and then distributed over time. Sharon, have you seen more people doing more or less, since you pay attention to the video world, are you seeing more people do more types of videos in and on particular platforms?
Yeah. Thanks for asking about that. I think YouTube is still the traditional outlet that people think of first and foremost when it comes to putting their videos online. And YouTube has definitely improved over the years. And the fact that you can pretty easily embed the YouTube player into a website does make it appealing, where you don't have to get too complicated. The Instagram thing, I got to be honest, it's a little new to me, and that was intriguing. I'm going to look more into that. And then as far as live video, what I really call web streaming, those have definitely been used more, I want to say, in like corporate event video. So maybe it's a product launch that you've got and you want to, not just share it with the 50 people that are there at your office that day when you're launching a new product, but you want to share it with the world. You can use web streaming to do that as a live event. And then that's also been used in a much bigger scale as far as conferences and conventions that may want to start using those platforms to show particular, maybe a keynote or just a breakout session that would be of interest to people, that kind of thing.
What I always say to businesses is you need to think about every moment in your business as an opportunity to capture content.
Right.
And there's no question in my mind that businesses have content to share. They just don't think about the opportunities to capture it. They don't have the systems in place. And so if you're listening, your job is to create the systems to be able to capture the content so that it matches your strategy. And so just as Sharon said, the idea that you have various types of things that happen throughout your business life cycle, you need to figure out which moments are for which audiences, right? So the corporate board meeting that you have once a year, if you're a corporation or an established entity that has a requirement for it, that's probably not the most exciting, luxurious thing to video, but you might record that for stakeholders, maybe not with audio, but it becomes really great B-roll, kind of that background video that's playing while you put some text on it. You're not actually airing any of the things that are actually said, but the background video is now seeing all of the various public faces of your company together in the same room discussing pertinent, important issues. And now you can place text on top of it that's talking about, new exciting things that are being discussed about the business. And that might be really great for stakeholders. Whereas if you're a pastry shop and you want to capture the morning pastry coming out of the oven, you might have to train your pastry chef or your other staff who's making the coffee and who's getting the display put together to turn on Periscope or YouTube Live with their phone and broadcasting that through your your social channels to be able to let people know as they wake up in the morning, they see the YouTube live for your pastry shop or your cafe, and they see those fresh baked goods and that coffee steaming out of the pot and being made. And that's going to excite them about your brand and wanting to come make that pit stop on their way to work to come buy from you as opposed to buying from Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or one of the other large commercial brands. You need to be able to really use video in ways that are not difficult, but you need to learn how to create the systems to capture the moments.
I love that point about it doesn't seem very dynamic to capture imagery at a corporate board meeting. But, one of the first things that I ask when I meet with a new client is, what media assets do you already have in hand that we might be able to use that will save you money? I don't have to reshoot it. We don't have to stage it. You already have this stuff and you own the copyrights, so we can include it in your video. So I love the idea of getting a lot of media there, even though you don't necessarily know how it's going to be used down the road. Maintaining a library of it in some way at your company it can be very helpful later and cost saving.
I love it. I love the idea of being useful and cost saving. And as we near the end of our discussion about this particular topic, and then we'll get to best tool of the week, do you have any parting thoughts for small business owners who are looking to do video?
We've covered a lot in this conversation, and I think it's just really important that business owners understand, first of all, who their audience is, what their mission is in creating the video. But, I think the bottom line for me is it doesn't matter how great your video is or how many of them you have if you don't have a plan in place to get other eyes on them. All of your efforts are in vain if nobody looks at them.
I couldn't agree more. And thank you for that. Now up, best tool of the week. This is where I get a chance to share with you, and our guest gets to share with you their best tool, favorite tool that they're currently using. And of course, tools change, so take it for what it is. But we're going to talk today about two different tools, one that both Sharon and myself are really excited about of late. So I'm going to start with an application called Ripple, and that is spelled RIPL. And again, there are links to this in the show notes. And so Ripple is an animated video tool that allows you to share to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn all in one tap. There is an iPhone app and there is a Google Android app in the Play Store. And how it works is that you add photos and text to each post. You choose a layout, kind of a theme or what they call a style, to customize each of these posts, and then you write your caption, add your hashtags, and so on and so forth. And Ripple produces a video from that content and then pushes it out to all of the social channels that you want it to. It is brilliant in the way that it operates. There's a free version, and then there is a pro version, and the pro version comes with many more animated designs. It allows you to be able to put your logo on every post. You can have more images in each of the designs. You can add music and more fonts, and you can also schedule posts, and then of course save the videos locally in the pro version. So the pro version is really quite worth it. But I say try out the free version first, see if it works for you for what you're trying to do, and then you can use Ripple on the pro version. And like I said, I've now been testing it with several clients, and it's been a really game changer for them, because for the everyday kinds of posts, again, going back to that pastry shop kind of environment, being able to push out the ephemeral video that needs to go out all the time, that having a tool that just can produce it, as opposed to the more professional stuff that Sharon and I were talking about earlier, this creates a professional video, but more for ephemeral posts. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, Sharon. You have a pretty interesting tool of the week that I would not have guessed when you sent it along to me, and then I checked out the website for it, and I was like, I could use this at home. So tell us a little bit about the Rock and Roller cart.
I swear, I spent like a week thinking about how I was going to answer that when you told me I had to come up with a tool, because there's a lot of great things out there that I loved. I'm going to check out this Ripple thing. But the Rock and Roller cart, it was the very first thing I bought when I decided to be self-employed in video production. And I still have the same one that I bought over 15 years ago. So I'm like, that's got to be a favorite thing. Right? I mean, I've had it for 15 years. I use it every time I have a shoot. And just so you guys know what this thing is, it's a cart that allows me to carry big cases of video gear. But you can use it however you like. And it has 8 different configurations. It has wheels. You can get the wheels that are inflatable, or you can get hard rubberized ones. And I think you get the hard rubberized ones, that thing is going to last forever. I had like a little tune-up done on it a couple months ago at Ace Hardware. I just brought my cart in and I was like, it's feeling a little wobbly. Can you check this screw? And they just tightened it all up for me. It was great. So, and it collapses and it fits like in my car behind my back seat. So the fact that it's so strong and compact and versatile, that is why it is my favorite tool.
I think that's fantastic. Yeah, they have all of these various wheels. They have the cart itself is amazing. As you said, it's highly configurable, and if you're moving things of any kind, it just looks phenomenal. It's great, and it just stores easily. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. And so this brings us to the end of our conversation. Sharon Sobel of Picture This Video, how can people learn more about you, stay in touch with you, get in touch with you if they wanted to?
So to get in touch with me, you can just go to my website. All of the social stuff is there, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and you can see more of the stuff that I'm about and stuff that I've produced. PictureThisVideo.net.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for joining me here today on Web and Beyond Cast.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to Web and Beyond Cast, where small business comes to learn about marketing and managing on the web and beyond. I'm your host, Ray Sidney Smith. Until next time, here's to your small business success on the web and beyond.